The integrity that you have in your character comes from your daily choices and your behaviors, not a title, not how much money you make, not how many meets you've won, not how many kids you've had in the program be successful, all that kind of stuff. Every day, you essentially pay your dues by acting a certain way, by choosing the right thing, by doing the harder thing when it's the right thing to do. That's where you maintain your integrity. And trust can be, trust is built over years and lost in seconds. And this super awkward moment would come up when they didn't want to do their skills and didn't want to condition. And I would just be like, I don't want to talk to you. And I would just clam up and kind of turn the other way. Right. But looking away is still a choice. And I realized for myself, I was like, this is my problem. I have to be willing to learn communication skills and have these harder conversations.
The kind of atmosphere that you set as the one in charge, if you set a military style training, then they're going to be less likely to open up. But if you, from the very beginning, have this culture that it is fine to talk and it is okay to cry and it is okay to have concerns and worries, then they're more likely to do it. And I think that's really, from a coach's point of view, or anyone that works with other people, that your word will be gospel to them. You have to be able to make sure that they understand that it is okay to talk about things like that, and there's no shame in it at all.
Don't be afraid to ask questions to anybody, because you're going to learn something. And the big thing is to be patient. I wasn't patient. I wanted to be great right now. And I made a ton of mistakes with kids with trying to push them a little too fast. And not necessarily skills they shouldn't be doing, but pushing them a little bit harder than they really were willing to do. You got to understand your kids in terms of where they're at, because you want to develop the love of the sport. They've got to love the sport to want to work hard later, because if they're not there, you're going to push them out of the sport. So don't be afraid to give a little bit, have a little fun. My biggest weakness as a coach right now is still that creativity to have fun.
Psychological safety, where the leaders in charge need to be selected based on their values, their morals, and their ability to do the harder thing when it's the right thing to do. And I think that is where a lot of the failure came through. When you reflect back and you look at some of the people who are now accused and very much proven guilty for the things that they did or the choices they did not make, you see that they had that extrinsic point of view. They were motivated by money, they were motivated by title, they were motivated by perceived status, they were motivated by approval of other people, they were addicted to the attention of other people and praise, instead of being motivated by the intrinsic value of using gymnastics as a vessel to teach values. But at the end of the day, health matters more than money, health matters more than medals, health matters more than your placement at an award ceremony. And we as adults, whether it's parents, coaches, medical providers, I think we need to really take that seriously about what you do is much more valuable than what you say.
Just talk to the kids, watch them. You have to see if they're tired. If they're tired, you got to back off. You can't just force it. You got to back off.
And think about all the kids that you positively affect and stay in the sport because you just treat them well. Even if their goal is to compete at low level till they're 17 years old and graduate high school and move on, who gives a shit? That's fine. That's amazing. That's perfect. Awesome. You know what I mean? Have non-recreational programs, have competitive programs, have adult gymnastics. There's so much good that can happen in our sport. And we're seeing a minority of people who are making it sour grapes for everybody. I'm empathetic towards coaches because I'm still one. They get asked to be too many things. So much is dumped on their plate. They're overworked and underpaid. They have parents squawking in their ears. They have colleges squawking at them. They have no time to read an evidence-based, they don't understand this terminology, right? It's very hard for them. So that's where Shift kind of filled that change, that gap about okay, here's all the geeky stuff. Here's what it means practically. Here's how we use it practically. Just you do the work to actually try and change, and I'll help you along the way.
They find important what you find important. And so if we make certain things really important in our gym and we focus on those and we celebrate them and we compliment and we do all these things to reinforce certain behaviors, then those behaviors become stronger because that's what we're rewarding. And so if we reward a perfect handstand shape more than we reward doing a back tuck, then those kids buy into the perfect handstand shape and they buy into the strength circuit. The whole thing about, don't use conditioning as punishment and doing those things because you make it into a negative. It's not a negative. It's a chance to get stronger.
A big one in the gymnastics world I see is that coaches and parents tie their sense of self-worth to their kids' accomplishments. So they think that if the kid wins, that means that they're a good coach. And so that means that they get status elevation, they get praise from everybody. That's really toxic. That's really, you're placing your happiness in the control of somebody else or something you really don't have control over to begin with. And so I think that people need to tie their own self-worth, especially in the gym, based on their values, the choices they make, how they're trying to be as healthy as possible and lead with a positive role model. I think that when people can do that, they can then create an environment where that happens everywhere. You should be a good person, you should work ridiculously hard, and you should try to make the world a better place. If you can't lay your head on the pillow every night and say you did those 3 things, I think you need to reevaluate how your time is being spent in the world.
And if all of your staff feel like they have a voice, then they translate that energy to their gymnasts, and now their gymnasts feel like they have a voice. It really does trickle down, and it helps build a culture of respect.
We clearly identified our priority filter, which is number 1, health, number 2, build great humans, number 3, build great gymnasts, in that order all the time, no matter what. Everybody, parents, coaches, gymnasts, tether your worth and your value and your confidence in yourself, in your values, in your morals, in your choices every day. Do not tether them to, are they competing? Do they move up? Do they have these scores? Because when you tether those things to things outside your control, which very much all those things are, you are vulnerable and you are setting yourself up for a lot of letdowns.
And if you bring everything you do back to your mission and your core values, then your moral compass will stay on track.
I think that you are ultimately in control of you, right? So you have to make sure that you are consciously building the environment that makes you successful. High quality micro events are one of the best ways to go about this. Kind of small passing interactions you have with people, smiling at your coworker when you walk in and saying hello versus burying yourself in your phone. Or when people are going through a warm-up, you're not standing off to the side of the floor and talking with the other coaches. You're actually walking around, you're correcting things, you're saying, hey, how are you? How was your day? How did that test go? Making some fun little jokes, making some lighthearted conversation, making it not so hardcore all the time, and those little micro events are what kind of put things in the trust bank. I think 80% of the people want to do well. They're good intention. They just got really, really terrible education. And that's back to maybe you need a 2-year program to coach in gymnastics. Like, it needs to be gold standard right now. We have 0 certification process, 0 formal academic training, 0 strength conditioning knowledge, nothing. It's just like, go for it. The alignment with your core values and the ability to take social judgment and handle rejection and handle that fear of the unknown, as we talked about, is what people need to do. And it's really hard to do that in your work life when you can't do that in your personal life. And many other coaches around the world are coming out and saying, like, this is not okay. This is not okay. I don't care if you've coached an Olympian or not. This is not how you treat kids. We should entertain new ideas, try some science, work with other people, do a little bit. And right now, it's just so noisy, man. It's so chaotic. It's so crazy. It's very hard to operate in the sport right now. But if people can just hang on and just keep doing the work, like 2 years from now when we get out, especially COVID, we're going to be like, all right, we're getting somewhere. We're finally getting somewhere.